Welcome to another one-shot review brought to you by the students of S.H.I.E.L.D. I am Mikey, and joining me today is Rebecca, and later Alec, because Alec is late, but since we love him so much, we're not going to give him shit for being late. And today we are going to be talking about our second half of our Marvel Studios Loki review, episodes 4 through 6. So yeah, thanks Rebecca for joining me as always. Appreciate it. And yeah, so we'll just get right to it. So we're just gonna start with what happened in the 4th episode because Rebecca doesn't remember everything, but my crazy ass rewatched like all the other episodes and took so many notes. Yeah, so we'll just get right to it. But episode 4 basically begins with Sylvie, young Sylvie, who gets taken by the TVA as a child, and yeah, that's not good. That's not good at all. And also like I was kind of told by shout out to Hannah who was telling me this, but like she kind of explained like, hey, like there's a cool theory out there right now that's basically like the reason why Sylvie was taken is because her Nexus event was that she's the only Loki that was actually like pure of heart and like didn't have any issues. So like what's your thoughts on that, Rebecca?
I haven't heard that theory before.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting, but I don't know that I've seen enough of Sylvie in the series being pure of heart enough to like fit that.
Well, I mean, like as a child, like I mean, like she was, you know, because we've always been told Loki when he was a kid. Oh, the Loki we've come to know was he was an asshole. He was a little shit as a child. So like, but like this version of Sylvie was like, you know, playing with her toys and you know being all innocent and adorable. And plus, she already knew she was adopted like at a very young age and has come to terms with it. So I mean, I think it's a theory that makes sense. You know, it's sad.
Maybe she just had good parents in this universe.
Yeah, that's what the Marvel Universe really needs. Just good parents and good parental relationships. Because they all suck. Well, most of them suck. I can't name a redeemable parent in the MCU, to be honest with you. Actually, no, maybe
all the good parents are dead.
That's true. Here we go. See? That's it right there. All the good parents are dead. But yeah, so she goes to the TVA and then by Rennslayer, who was again Judge Rennslayer before she was a judge, and she ends up escaping with Renslayer's tempad, and that's how she's been all on the run throughout, you know, the whole escaping the TVA her whole life, essentially. After that, the whole thing with C20, who was the one of the agents that Sylvie enchanted, and Mobius is like, yo, what happened to that C20 girl? What's the deal? And then Renslayer is like, she died. And then Mobius is like, the what? And basically like, oh yeah, she like killed herself because Sylvie made her go crazy. Which we come to know is bullshit, you know. But yeah, that's just something that happened. And then it goes to Lamentis, which was the planet that an apocalypse was occurring where we saw Loki and Sylvie in episode 3. And you know, like the planet's about to explode and they have no way to get off because their tempad is destroyed. And you know, it's like, you know what? Listen, it is what it is. You know, we all die as long as you kill yourself or get killed. So they just, you know, decided to like share a moment on this dying planet. And this moment that happens, you know, obviously because you know they like each other, it causes a Nexus event that the TVA picks up and then creates these time doors to have them go through and save them, and they get arrested, obviously, because they're fugitives. Yeah, so that happens, and then the crazy thing is, so I find it very interesting how, and in Iraq, we can always talk about your thoughts on this, how they keep people that they interrogate prisoner, and they put them in these time loops. So like Morbius puts Loki in a time loop where we encounter a person we haven't seen literally since like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like I'm not even lying to you. Freaking Lady Sif shows up and it's played by Jamie Alexander, who like literally we haven't seen him like since like the first season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is wild. And It's basically we put them in this hell loop of like their one of their like worst memories essentially, and yeah, I thought this was really cool. Uh, and this memory was the time where Loki cut Sif's hair as a joke, and so she therefore punched him, like basically punched him in the damn face and told him like and told them that like, oh, like, you know, you're always gonna be alone and you always will be. And Loki was like, you know what, I went to had a nice hot bath and had a drink and I didn't think of anything of it, but it keeps happening and happening again, and that's where it starts to reflect when Sif beats the shit out of him repeatedly. So, Rebecca, what are your thoughts on seeing Sif again?
I think she's fine. She's not like super involved with everything. She's kind of just in the first Thor movie, and I haven't seen Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I guess she's there too, and that's about it.
Yeah,
it was nice seeing her just because, like, I feel like Loki in this was kind of separated from all the like Thor stuff, which is a good thing, but it was a nice way to kind of tie it back a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I mean, also like it's kind of like I feel like it was kind of like fan service for the people that like always question where Sif was, like in Ragnarok and in like Infinity War. Like it's never really been explained. Even here, they don't really explain where the hell she's been because it's a memory. But
well, you only get one strong woman. That's the rules.
Okay, yeah, fair. I guess that's the rule. But yeah, no, that was cool. And this is actually a thing in Norse mythology. How Loki actually cut Sif's hair as a joke. I think it was really cool to remind us of like the roots of like the character. And also for some reason, Rennslayer doesn't want Mobius to talk to Sylvie because she's ashamed because Sylvie's her biggest mistake in her career, basically. And that happened. Hunter B15 talks to Mobius, and the only reason why I put this in my notes is because Mobius references that they've taken in Kree, Titans, and vampires, and then this is the part where I was just like, shit. Like I was like,
Was that your Blade connection?
I literally was like, the first thing I thought to mind was like that infamous Blade quote when he says, "Man, all motherfuckers always trying to ice skate uphill," and I was like, "Oh, dude!" Like it confirms, like, "Hey guys, we're gonna get our boy back. We're gonna get Soul Brother #1 back."
Wait, Mike, you know what they should have done?
What's up?
As an after credits, they should have had like a bunch of different cells and Wesley Snipes in one of them.
I would have literally laughed. I would have died. I would have literally died laughing. Like, honestly, see, missed opportunity, Marvel. That would have been so great. I mean, I already said my opinions on Blade in the MCU podcast we did a little bit a while ago. So if you want to check that out, I'll put that link there. But yeah, I just thought it was a cool reference. So yeah, after that, Mobius interrogates Loki, and basically he wants to know what caused the Nexus Event on Lamentus because he has no idea, and we all know it was Loki and Sylvie's connection, and then he figures out that Sylvie and Loki are like Loki likes her, even though like I love their because Mobius and Loki have a really good back and forth with each other, because they're kind of because they're both really great liars and they have great poker face. That's why I think they work well off of each other, because Loki's just like, he makes this excuse about, oh, like, this was my con, this was my plan, like, actually was just a pawn from the beginning. And Loki's like, you are full of crap. Like, I can see it in your eyes, bro. You like it. You narcissistic fuck. Only you could like yourself. And I think it's good stuff. And because Loki sees Morbius as his friend, so then he says him, hey, you're all variants. Like, he just tells them all, like, you're all variants. The timekeepers have kidnapped you all to have you work for them. Like, all of this isn't real. Like, you have been working here for eons. And he's just like, oh, again, more lies, Loki, come on. But then good acting on Owen Wilson, because you see the little bit of doubt. You see that little bit of doubt there. And it's just like, which has been teased throughout, because remember they mentioned like the jet ski, like why does he like jet skis so much? like, so there's been that looming doubt, you know, that's been building up with that Mobius character. But yeah, so there's that, and then he has a conversation with Rennslayer like right after, and basically like they keep talking about Sylvie. He as well as digging into like the whole C20 thing, and she's dismaying everything he's saying. Like he's just like, why are you focusing on this? It's not important. We did it. We won. Like we have them. Just move on. But you know, he knows that there's not something's not right, and because you know he's a smart dude. And then he realizes that no, he doesn't realize. Sorry, Rennslayer mentioned him, but hey, like the timekeepers want to oversee, you know, both of the Lokis pruning personally, because you know why not? And they want us to invite, and they wanted me to invite you. So it was like, it's about time, blah blah blah. And he's still iffy. So what he does is he steals Rensslayer's temp pad when she's not looking. Again, like he's a lot like Loki. Like, you know, he's a liar. He's conniving. He's manipulative. He's like has some good sleight of hand. So yeah, it's good stuff. So when after that, Sylvie, Hunter B15, who's played by Wumni Mosaku, also from Lovecraft Country, and she basically is like because last time she encountered Sylvie, the previous episode, I think episode 2, Sylvie enchanted her, and obviously what we know is that like, you know, Sylvie uses memories to enchant people, and so B15's been having those doubts ever since that moment till now. So she refrees her to then have her enchant her again to make sure that, like, she wasn't making this up and that she did have a life before the TVA, and then she realizes the truth that Sylvie told that they're all variants. So there's that. And then Mobius looks at Rensslayer's temp pad and finds out, oh yeah, like he finds a recording of the interrogation of C20 by Rennslayer, that she knows what's going on, that everything she knows is a lie, that they're all variants, and Renslayer is hiding that from everybody. And so there's that. And then Mobius breaks out Loki from the Hell loop, and I find it. I like the Hell loop scene a lot. I think it's really interesting because of you know, he basically like apologizes to Sif that what he did was wrong and it wasn't funny, because he does it because he's narcissistic and doesn't want to be alone, and he's basically like he's self-actualizing, like he's realizing like why he is the way he is, but yet Sif still does what she does, kicks him in the nuts and punches him in the face, and says like, and reminds him you are alone and that you always will be. And it's just like, shit.
Yeah, it's a very good character moment for Loki in the series.
Yeah, it's really good, and I was like, it's a really good scene. Then Mobius breaks him out and was like, haha, you were right, but like, is the whole thing with you and Sylvie, is that what caused a Nexus event? Because that's what we could use to change the TVA. And Loki was like, I guess, sure. Like he doesn't want to admit it that he likes her, but yeah. So Mobius frees him, and right when he does that, they're caught by Rennslayer, and is therefore is pruned, and Mobius is pruned, and again Loki is just in shock that now his best friend is now dead. And this is where I was like, I didn't want to watch the show anymore because I love Mobius so much. But yeah, I did not see that coming at all. But then, you know, we're gonna have another twist later on in the episode. So then it follows with Rennslayer taking Sylvie and Loki to the Timekeepers, and then we actually see the Timekeepers, and they look as how they've always been depicted, apparently, like these three gods that judge the flow of time and all that stuff. But then, you know, they're about to be executed, and then B15 ends up freeing Loki and Sylvie. They have a really cool fight and a really cool scuffle with each other that plays out, and then I love how when Loki and Sylvie basically won the fight, and the timekeepers still like wait a minute, like we can talk. Sylvie just takes her sword, just throws it, and decapitates the one in the middle. And this is where I'm just like, oh shit, like who? Because it's revealed that they're obviously not real. Like they're all androids. They're all androids, and what made it even more chilling, Rebecca, is that when the timekeeper gets decapitated, the other two start like maniacally laughing as they shut down. And I'm just like, what the hell is going on? Like, it's just like it was a cool detail, but it creeped me out a little bit and made me be like, what is happening? You know? So they're all androids. Yay. So who's behind the TVA? That's the big question. And so, Loki and Sylvie share another moment where like he wants to tell her that he likes her, but he's hesitating because he doesn't know how to like deal with his feelings. And right when he was about to say what he has to say, he gets pruned as well by Rennslayer from behind. And this is where my jaw dropped. I was like, oh, no, like it's not it. This can't be over. God damn it. But yeah, what were your thoughts on this happening, this whole scene, the reveal with the timekeepers and this and all that stuff?
Well, to start off, I would say I expected the timekeepers to not be like the real big bad. Like I always figured, there was someone like else, or like I didn't think that they would show the timekeepers to begin with. I always figured it would be just someone else entirely.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that later as we go into the other episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there are 2 episodes left at this point, so when people like die, I don't expect it to mean anything, but they do know how to leave you on a cliffhanger. I will say that.
Do. Yeah, 100%. But yeah, I literally I knew that this wasn't the end, but like my naive ass was just in shock that like Loki pruned before my eyes. I was like, no, like him and Mobius. I was so mad. Like I was like, oh god, I was just not having it, right? Yeah, so that's how the episode basically ended, and it ended with Sylvie being like, okay, like Rennslayer, now you're gonna tell me everything because you killed my potential boyfriend. Yeah, so then the credits roll and all that jazz happens. Then there was a post-credit scene where Loki wakes up and we don't know where the hell he is. And then he wakes up in this wasteland, and we get this reveal that the people are talking to him, being like, hey, we gotta go. And the reveal is that he's talking to 3 of his other variants. And you're just like, whoa. Like, holy shit. Like, it's just like, that was a good thing to leave off of. I was really mad there was another episode. Like, we had to wait another week. That was me.
I have a question.
What's up?
Do you think it's because this is the only end credit in the show, I think, right?
No, it is. It's the only end credit in the show.
Do you think it would have been more impactful if they left it in there, or if they just didn't have the end credits and it started on the next episode?
I mean, I feel I think it's I think it would be fine either or. Like, yeah, like this post-credit scene, like it left people wanting more. Like, it left people like it left everyone wanting more. I get the purpose of it, but like even if they started it like in the beginning, like that would have been. I think that. Well, I think it would have been more impactful because imagine like it just ends with Loki's death.
I think that would have been a little more bold than just like saying it's okay, he survived, like right after the end.
That's true. People would have been pissed. Like literally, people would have been so mad if that happened. But I still think it was cool. But like, yeah, I think it would have been more impactful. Yeah, I agree. That would have been a dope thing, like to start off with the episode. But yeah, we're obviously like I'll just say who these are. So we got Boastful Loki, Richard E. Grant playing classic Loki, which I think is perfect casting, like with classic Loki. And then you have Kid Loki, who's my personal favorite, and I'll tell you why he's my favorite in the next episode. And he's holding Alligator Loki, who, to my surprise, was created for the show. He was never in any comics.
I still think it should have been Crocodile Loki, so you could just call him Croaky.
Okay, fair enough. I see the wordplay. I see the wordplay there. But yeah. Yeah, so what are your thoughts on this episode? Rebecca?
Moving on to 5 then?
Yeah, so like what are your final thoughts on this episode as a whole? 1 to 5.
Final thoughts. I thought it built up a lot of things suspense-wise. Like I said, we had Mobius, we had the Timekeepers, we had Loki all dying.
Yeah.
And there's good setup with this end credit for the next, and it really gets you hyped to see what's coming.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, this episode was it. I didn't expect a lot of. I was surprised about the whole like self-actualization like with Loki, especially like in the hell loop and all that stuff. That was great. Seeing Mobius, being the like a reason like the interrogation scene is a great example of like why Mobius and Loki make good friends, like because they carry some of the same attributes with each other. And yeah, the Timekeepers, that twist was great. Sylvie being Sylvie, like the scenes with Sylvie was great. The fight at the end was really cool. I like the fight, especially with their fighting styles, because Sylvie's more of a street brawler, while Loki's very elegant and regal with his fighting style. And yeah, this twist, like this, seeing the other variants, it was very exciting. But like I feel like it would have been more impactful if it just had Loki just die straight up, and then next week is we see this, So yeah, it's good. I thought it was good. I thought it was pretty good for the most part. But yeah, so we're just going on to episode 5, titled "Journey into Mystery," which I think is a great title because I think the first appearance of Loki was in a Journey into Mystery book, I believe. I don't remember the number.
I want to say that's right, but I don't know the number either.
Yeah, I don't know the number offhand, but like I thought it was a nice little nod to, to that issue where he first appeared. Yeah. So this episode starts out with again with these really cool transitions of like the TVA to the Timekeeper's chamber where we see the decapitated Timekeeper head, and then we see where Loki is. And we see Loki in a place where it's revealed to be called the Void, which is basically at the end of time, and it's basically surrounded by a better version of Galactus from Fantastic Four as the Silver Surfer, basically, which is revealed to be known as Alliath, who is from the comics as well. And
is it also a smoke cloud kind of thing in the comics?
Yeah, it's like a smoke cloud like creature type thing. Let's see. There's our boy. Hey, Alec.
Hi, everyone. I'm sorry to keep you waiting, but I'm here.
Listen, you actually came at the right time. We're just starting episode 5, so
all right.
It's all good. Yeah. So we see I was talking about like briefly just like the scene where we see Alliath like in the beginning of the show when that takes place. Yeah. So like after that, Loki gets introduced to again classic Loki, boastful Loki, alligator Loki, and Kid Loki. And then it transitions to Rennslayer talking with Sylvie. So right where we left off, and she's basically explaining like where Loki went because I feel like she's the only one. I feel like the judges only know where people who are pruned actually go, and she basically explains that like branch realities can't simply just be like pruned because you can't destroy like a branch reality in its entirety. So pruning is basically you transfer. Pruning is basically you transfer a branch reality or something or a variant to the end of time at the Void, where Alliath well, she doesn't know about Alliance, but she says like she transferred to the end of time, but she doesn't know why no one's ever returned there. And that's like it's like their recycle bin. It's like the TVA's recycle bin, you know? Like that's basically what the void is. And you know, while Loki's walking around, these Lokis are explaining to him, yeah, like that's Goliath, that's the void, we're in the void, blah blah blah. Like we can't leave because you know there's no time that temp pads around, and there's no point of creating a Nexus event because the TVA doesn't care about this place. So there's that. And I have a quote here from Classic Loki that basically says he quotes like we're in a shark tank and Alliance is the shark. That's how he describes the void. But yeah, that's basically like where Loki is at this point, and I think it's really interesting. It's a really interesting take on that. So then the next few scenes were like it's just them walking around, and then you actually get to know more and more about these versions of Loki. And Alec, I was telling Rebecca that Kid Loki's my favorite out of all of them. I don't know if y'all want to know who if you guys have a favorite Loki variant that they show. But Kid Loki is my favorite because it is revealed that his Nexus event. Well, first off, he's the oldest. He's the oldest Loki in this place, Kid Loki, and this is like they refer to as his kingdom. And the reason his Nexus event, why it's captured by TVA, is that this little shit killed Thor. And then I'm just like, yo, that's cold. And then again, shout out to Hannah because she told me that, okay, this theory that's been going around with that statement. If you remember, for our audience and for you two, if y'all remember in Thor Ragnarok when Thor mentioned to, I think it was Valkyrie, that to when they were children, Loki disguised himself as a snake and then stabbed him. So the theory right now is that, oh no, that's exactly what happened. He disguised as a snake and stabbed him, but ended up killing him by mistake. So yeah, what are your thoughts on that? Yeah, I think that's brilliant. And if that's true, I want it to be true.
I kind of love that theory.
Yeah. I think
that's a pretty cool. I never put that together. It's like it never crossed my mind of like, oh, connect these dots. But if the screenwriters, well, you know, if the head writer or the director confirms it, that would be pretty. It would certainly tie things into the greater cosmic MCU.
Exactly. Yeah, this is a cool thought. I hope it's real. That would be hilarious if that's real. But yeah, so they're walking around and then go into their hideout. And before we go into anything further, I wanted there's some Easter eggs that I wanted to address. And if there's anything that I missed, if Alec or Rebecca remembers, let me know because there's a lot of them that like small things that are probably missed when you walk into the void. But so the three that I picked out that stood out, the Avengers Tower here, right here, Avengers Tower. This tower has the logo of Kang Industries on it, and in the comics, that was a fake company that Kang created to buy Avengers Tower once they sold it in the comics, and I think it's also the same thing in the MCU as well. Like when Tony signs the papers, I think he signs documents like Avengers or whatever, or Age of Ultron. I don't remember which one, but which movie. It says Kang Enterprises on it, so that's something I wanted to address. The second thing that I just found out today is in the bottom corner of my PowerPoint. I think this is Yellow Jacket's helmet. Like this is literally Yellow Jacket's helmet. Like right in this bottom corner of the screen. And it's very large. So I assume this is like maybe Yellow Jacket found a way to actually like grow just like, you know, Ant-Man does. Because it was really big. It was a really big helmet. So that's another thought there. But the best one obviously is Throg. Throg is the best. When I literally saw this man, I saw Thor's hammer in the ground, and I love that shot of us like them going into the shelter, and then we see the inner ground, and we see Thor's hammer and Throg in a jar, just desperately trying to reach the hammer. I literally was laughing in my chair. I thought it was so funny. But yeah, those are Easter eggs I saw off rip. I don't know if y'all have any that you want to mention or all that stuff at all.
Small little fun fact according to my it's the research I do because I like that. Apparently, for Throg, Chris Hemsworth, he did some recording that went uncredited.
Really?
Yeah, I think I saw a headline that he did stuff for the first episode as Throg, but it got cut out or something. And of course, he makes some sounds. It's in the jar, and if my sources, if that stuff I read is correct, that is Chris Hemsworth as like the grunting and stuff. Except he went uncredited. So I don't know. Something interesting.
That'd actually be hilarious if that's true. It didn't sound like him though. That's why I'm just like,
Yeah.
Well, it was just like noises too. So
that's true. But also on the jar, I just noticed just now. It says T365, which is the first appearance of Throg. Thor 365 is first appearance. So yeah, that was really fun. Okay, I don't really know any other Easter eggs besides that, but if there are any, maybe we'll call them out later.
Wait, actually, about Easter eggs, I think the Thanos copter was in there.
Right.
Yeah, that was there.
I literally had it in on my sticky notes.
It was the Thanos copter, and I think I saw the Milano. No. I think it was the Dark Aster.
Was it?
I think I saw it. It was towards the end of the episode.
Okay.
Refresh my memory. What is that?
The Dark Aster. Hold on. I also I answered like I knew what I was talking about, but like I know it sounds familiar. Yeah, do you remember what exactly is the Dark Aster?
The Dark Aster was, I think it was the ship for Ronan.
Ship. Yeah.
It was for Ronan, I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah, Ronan's ship. Yep.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure it was. It's either that or Thanos.
Yeah. The Thanos copter I thought was hilarious because I was one of the dumbest things in comics. Oh my god. But yeah, so that happened. So it transitions again to Sylvie. Sylvie ends up, she gets ambushed by a Rennslayer because, she wants to know more about the end of time and all that stuff. And she ends up pruning herself. She just straight up takes the prune stick and just goes at it. She ends up pruning herself to go and find Loki. And so after that, one of the coolest parts of the episode, all these Lokis, so all these Lokis started having a little chat. And it starts with boastful Loki talking about how, and I quote, how he claims to have vanquished Captain America and Iron Man and end up getting all 6 Infinity Stones. And Alligator Loki's like, that's a load of crap. And then I was like, oh, so that's why he calls boastful Loki, because he's just a big liar.
It's a crock of shite, right?
Exactly. It's a crock of shite. Exactly. And then he makes a joke about Alligator Loki's Nexus event was that he was killing the neighbor. He killed the neighbor's cat. Like he ate the neighbor's cat. I'm just like, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's really funny. And then the best part is that we get the origin of classic Loki. And basically, this Loki is the Loki that ended up not dying at the hands of Thanos in Infinity War. And he ended up because we see this throughout the episode, but like classic Loki is the best illusions caster. Like he's the best. So he said he made an illusion so convincing that like it made it look like Thanos killed him, which was not true. But then he wandered into space and like near like the edge of the universe, away from Asgard, away from Thor, and he ended up on this planet where he lived like the rest of his days, and he became really lonely. and basically grew old on this planet. And so his Nexus event was that he tried to leave the planet, and then the TVA was like, yoink, nope. Which was sad. And then, but it also shows that, like, he said that, like, he left because, like, he really did miss Thor. Like, he missed everyone. Like, he didn't like his self-exile. And I thought, I was like, oh, that was really sad. Yeah, so what are your thoughts on this classic Loki origin?
Like you said, I thought it was, like, a little sad.
Yeah.
It's obviously meant to, like, foil kind of our Loki, and that, you know, Loki has problems, like, letting people in, and classic Loki didn't realize till it was too late what he really wanted, which was, like, his family and, like, love and attention and stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And but the actor for the classic Loki, I know I brought it up the last time. It's
Richard E. Grant. Richard E. Grant.
That's it. I was very excited to have him in to play an older. It's like essentially it's an older Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah.
And for a single episode appearance, well, like he showed up at the end of 4, but for like a big, like, you know, it's a guest star basically. I thought he was great. He made us care for Loki in a tragic sense in many ways, and that's what makes a Loki so interesting, is that there are multiple sides, like elements of Loki. Tom Hiddleston has called Loki like the keys. It's on the piano. It plays in different tunes and tones, and exactly. I thought that classic Loki was a very it's a very cool character. I liked him a lot in the role.
And he looks ridiculous, and I love it. It's literally the costume from the comic, like, straight up. Mm-hmm. Like, and I don't know if, like, I was telling Rebecca, because I watched the today as well. I watched the assembled doc for Loki, and, like, Richard E. Grant thought he was gonna be wearing, like, a muscle suit and all that stuff, but no, he's just wearing a spandex outfit, his own body type, and the horns and all that stuff. And I was like, great. I wouldn't have had it any other way, to be honest with you. But yeah, so after all of that, Loki tries to convince them to help with his plan. His plan is to essentially kill Goliath, and they're all laughing because they think it's going to be impossible and that he's crazy. So he's like, you know what, screw it, I'm going to leave. And then he opens the door to encounter all of his other variants and President Loki. And I love the fact that, like, the President Loki looks at him and is like, oh, like, which one of us are you? And we see it's just ridiculous, and I love it. You know, yeah. So what are your thoughts on I know President Loki was basically just fan service. He doesn't have a big role in this at all, which we all thought he would have. But, like, I think it's really cool to see all these various versions of Loki. You know.
I like all the different versions and seeing, like, what they do to, like, differentiate them.
Yeah.
But I was a little disappointed, and this is nothing wrong with the show, just on my expectations, because I really wanted them to just elect the President Loki, and that would be, like, the plot for the episode.
Yeah. Because I remember in the trailer, and, like, I think we talked about this in the MCU podcast as well. I thought, like, our Loki was gonna end up being, like, President Loki for a little bit, but obviously, like, that wasn't the case. But yeah, Alec, do you have any thoughts on this scene?
Well, as people might have gotten the implication, I'm not the most versed in the comic book lore, but my like initial thought as soon as I saw the horns on him, I was like, oh, is this the Loki that won the Battle of Earth? And then I found out, no, it's the President Loki from the 2004 comic book run. I think it was 2004, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it wasn't 2004. It was a little earlier than that.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, we got a comment. Sorry, Alex, cut you off short. That you can show clips of the episode without copyright. These aren't clips. These are screens. These are images I found on the internet. That's how that worked. And he said, excited to see President Loki, but disappointed it was only yeah. That's basically how it went down. Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm just happy we saw Lenny Kravitz Loki that was teased The one with the dreads that are made in the horns. Yeah, the only black Loki there. Well, the other black Loki. I don't even remember that. The Loki that was let me go to the thing. Yeah, this one right here, wearing the sunglasses, and his dreads are the horns. Yeah, it's Lenny Kravitz Loki, man. Come on now. I like that one, but yeah, that was cool. But so cuts back to Sylvie ending up at the Void, and she gets attacked by Alioth immediately. And then Mobius comes in and is, I think, like a broken down like pizza delivery like truck, and then like picks her up, and they form a plan basically. And then so all of these Lokis essentially have a dispute because Boastful Loki sold Kid Loki out, and that's how Present Loki and his other Lokis came in. And I think it's typical. It's just typical Loki shit. Where like this Boastful Loki is gonna be the king, but Present Loki's like, oh no, I'm gonna be the king, and these guys are be my subjects. But then all of them turn on him like, no, we're all gonna try to be. Like it's just no one is. Everyone's trying to like you know.
It goes off the walls, basically.
It is, and I love that there's a running joke like the rest of the episode, like why is there an alligator version of a Loki? And it's just, you know, and then alligator Loki bites off his hand, and then you can see Tom Hiddleston with the funniest screech. Like I didn't expect a screech like this to come out of his mouth. But he starts screeching. It's so funny. It's like it's a girly screech. That's what it was. And
that screech shows how much Tom loves the character. I feel like, you know, and like, you know, I'm sorry to interrupt, Mikey, but like, you know, but that's the fun about these thing with the multiple. It's the versions and the it's the new timelines. It's different timelines. If we can ham it up in one part and then go back to our main Loki, and like you know, it's easy to tell it's that Tom is having a blast doing this.
Yeah, man, it's good stuff. But yeah, so they all escape due to Class Loki making all like illusions of themselves and all that stuff. It was really cool, and all of that. So then after that, they meet up with Sylvie and Mobius, and they discuss a plan. And Sylvie basically has a plan that she's gonna try to enchant Alioth, so that maybe it's gonna reveal that, so that Alioth can reveal like who's behind all of this, like because she thinks that like Alioth is basically this person's guard dog, and you know that's the whole theory there. Rennslayer, this is interesting. Rennslayer asks Miss Minutes for information on the beginning of the TVA, and Miss Minutes hesitates and is like, those are going to be tricky files to find, and then tells her she's going to get right on it. So like, that was just a quick side thing I want to reference. Then we get a nice, really, you know, intimate scene with Loki and Sylvie, like basically like reminiscing and reflecting. My mind escapes me on what they actually were talking about, but if anyone could fill me in, that would. I don't know if anyone remembers what happened in this scene, but like
Well, in this scene, but they're talking about the future, about what comes after, but Sylvie has mentioned that she's been on the run for her whole life, and like after this, it's after they find what they're looking for. She doesn't know her future, and then with our Loki goes, he tries to say perhaps if we could find our future together, and so the scene is basically ship teasing, is what it is. It's having to build that. It's the growing affection that they have for each other.
Yeah.
Is what that is basically, and it was a cute little scene because it felt like two teenagers basically who can't spit it out, but it's there. It's the chemistry is there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. So after that scene, now they start to enact their plan. So their plan is to have Mobius go back to the TVA and then try to, get as meant to, basically like foil Rennslayer and try to like, take control of the TVA and all that stuff. So, but then Sylvie and Loki are going to basically attempt to, Sylvie's gonna try to enchant of Alioth, while Loki, Kid Loki, and Classic Loki, and Alligator Loki, but Alligator Loki doesn't really do anything. Try to like distract it, help as much as they can. And so, and then we get this really cool scene of like and my of O's moment. It's not this moment where Kid Loki for his journey wants to help regular like our Loki. He gives him his sword, and this sword's important because his sword is known as Leviathan in the comics, and that's his actual like sword he has in Norse mythology. I think it's really cool, and I have this really cool screenshot here, and it's so cool. It lights on fire, like it's awesome. I love this. But yeah, so he gives him his sword, and here's the thing, right? With me, I was like, okay, I was really hoping that Kid Loki was gonna come with them to wherever it is that they were going to be going, or either go with Mobius or go with Sylvie and Loki, because like they've been setting up. We all know they're setting up Young Avengers, and Kid Loki is a Young Avenger in the comics, well, in one of the later iterations. So I was like, this man is going to stay here? Like, come on now, like they got to bring him back at some point, but they might, you never know. So there's that, and then we get this really cool scene where they're having issues trying to distract it, but we see our boy Classic Loki conjure up an entire illusion of Asgard to distract Alliance, and it's an amazing scene. Like he's doing all this crazy magic shit, but he looks ridiculous. Like he's literally in like spandex and a leotard. Like but like Richard E. Grant is like selling the role so well, like But yeah, so he ends up makes a conjure up, I think, an entire Asgard to distract it, and ends up dying in the process. But like before he dies, he says like glorious purpose, which is like a constant thing in this episode, mentioning like how much of a bullshit thing it is to have a glorious purpose amongst Lokis, but then they end up finding their glorious purpose anyway, which I think is very dope and a very good theme, with the character of Loki. And so basically the episode ends with Sylvie and Loki together enchanting Alioth. And therefore Alioth basically unwinds and creates a portal that reveals where the person who's on the other side of the who's on the other side of the end of time. So that's how that episode ends. So yeah, what were your thoughts on this episode? I love this episode a lot. This episode was a lot of fun, in my opinion. So I'll open it there.
Well, like you said, it was a lot of fun. One thing I want to point out, just because I thought it was funny, was how everyone's as surprised that there's like a singular girl Loki as there is that there's an alligator Loki. I thought that was funny.
Yeah. They're just like a female Loki. That would be. I think Loki said it would be monstrous. If that was the case.
Especially because, like, I don't know about in this series, but I know in the comics, like, Loki's supposed to be gender fluid. Like, the concept of, like, a girl Loki is, like, such a surprise.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah, that was pretty funny. Yeah, do you have anything to say on this episode?
This episode was calm before the storm episode in a couple ways.
Yeah.
But this was a bridging episode to the finale, is basically what it was. There were Easter eggs, there were heartfelt moments. One moment that stood out to me is when it's towards the end, it's before the fight against Alioth. And also too, it's a side note. I loved of how with Loki he conjured up a scabbard.
Yeah.
Or his sword. I like that a lot. It's when with but Mobius, he takes the TemPad to go to the TVA to, and I quote, try to burn it to the ground, basically. And this episode, it showed how much of the type of friendship, I guess, but I would say now it's between Loki and Mobius. They hugged it out, and it's like old friends saying, it's not goodbye, it's just seeing you later. And you know, it felt like a very heartfelt moment when he said to Sylvie, "You're still my favorite." You know, I liked how this episode with Mobius, it showed how much they start to respect one another, because, you know, if he found his lost friend, it's in the void. And I liked the, you know, it's a sort of classic Loki sacrificing himself with glorious purpose, laughing crazy. I liked it a lot. It was a very calm before the storm episode. I liked it.
Yeah. Oh, I also forgot to mention last episode that, like, Mobius said, because there's a question that Rennslayer asked him, like, if you want to go anywhere in time, where would you go? And it was before he got pruned.
Yeah.
And he said, like, I want to go where I was taken, like where I'm actually from. And he's like, listen, like, because I want that jet ski.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm entirely convinced that Mobius's tragic backstory is he bought a jet ski when he wasn't supposed to.
That would be funny. That would be really funny. You know? So, yeah, I just want to point that out. And plus, like, I love the hug, and he's like, he says, like, you know, like I'll see you soon, my friend. Like, they have a great friendship, I think. It's really well done the way they've set it up. But yeah, and this is, you know, it ends here, no post-credit scene. So we're gonna see who is the puppeteer, basically. And yeah, this episode's great action. Like, it's a lot of fun. It's so much fun. Like, you could tell that, like, there was a lot of love put into this episode. A lot of love, you know, with the references and the variations of Loki, and everyone was having a fun time. Like, Richard E. Grant was having so much fun. You could tell. And we're never gonna see him again.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, there's that. So we'll just move on to the last and final episode 6, titled the TVA Motto, obviously, for all time, always. And I'm going to say it right now, and I remember I told Rebecca before we started, this is the best episode in the entire show, hands down. I don't care what anyone says. Best episode. Best, okay? So this episode basically starts off. Well, first off, before like anything even happens, the episode, just the opening credits starts, like we see like the whole Marvel Studios logo. The opening credits starts off with like audio of like almost every like notable Marvel moments that happened so far. Like we see like some like Black Panther and Endgame, like in Infinity Wars, some Falcon. Like it's everyone. Like it's and then it kind of like fades out where we see like kind of like a big bang occur, and we see other like notable quotes from like notable like quotes throughout like history. I thought that was really interesting. Like, what do you guys thought on that? I thought that was really an interesting way to start and introduce, like, you know, the timeline. You know, yeah. So, like, well, you have any thoughts on that?
Not really. It was just a cool opening, I would say.
Yeah, it was just a cool opening.
If the implications of this episode are anything to go by, not to jump ahead, this is a big game changer.
Yeah,
and I feel like that this showing it was to exemplify of how this figure, who we will meet shortly, has been having to monitor time throughout, and that stuff with the archive audio from the past movies, with history. But that was showing that there's a greater force. It was stylistic, is what it was basically. But it was a nice touch, I thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I thought it was really nice. I couldn't make out, like, especially like the various audio and like the timeline was like forming. Like I didn't know who it was, but I heard some stuff that sounded familiar, but I couldn't really make it out specifically. But yeah, so then after the episode truly starts with Loki and Sylvie at this castle, and we see them like the timeline, the singular timeline surrounding it. I thought it looked amazing. I thought it looked really well done.
Sweet green screen. I'll give them that.
No, dope green screen. I wouldn't be surprised if this was the dome.
Actually, okay. I take that back.
Oh, you take that back?
Yeah, I take it back.
Okay. But yeah. So so they walk up to this castle, and they're hesitant, and all that stuff. And they're walking into the castle, and they immediately encounter Miss Minutes walking like this. It was a cool jump scare. I'm not gonna lie.
Did it hit you?
Yeah.
Mikey, how come that screenshot right now? How come it's not that face?
I couldn't get it. I couldn't. It was so quick.
I'm disappointed, Mikey.
Listen. I know.
Try harder next time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll end this shit right now.
All right, guys. It was good. See ya.
Yeah, it was so that jump scare of Miss being like, "Hi, y'all," and I love Tara Strong. The voice of our childhood. She was great as Miss Minutes throughout the entire show. But she then and I like how the way they did this, like, because this shot, especially like this shot, it was very it was a slow zoom, but it rotated.
Yeah.
It was a rotating shot. And it made it seem like I was in a very like creepy, like ominous vibe from her. Like they kind of made her seem like
unhinged
and unhinged, yeah. And the voice acting definitely helped. But Miss Minutes basically, it's like, okay, guys, you made it this far, good for you. So like here's the thing, right? Can we He Who Remains, which is the person she's referring to, who is the figure we're going to meet. He Who Remains is just like, he wants to make a deal. Hey, like you can either, just stop right here. You can either go forward and face what we gotta face, or you can just we can rearrange the sacred timeline so you can both fit in it together with no interruptions, and you guys can have anything you want. Like you wanna win the battle in New York and defeat the Avengers. You wanna rule Asgard. You can do all that shit.
If you want the Infinity Gauntlet, it's yours.
Exactly. Which again is a test. It shows how powerful this person is if he's managing to like give them the Infinity Gauntlet. And after watching Endgame or something, how powerful the Infinity Gauntlet is and all that stuff. It's kind of wild.
Well, I think that also goes back to it was the first episode where they have the drawer of like
they're all paperweights,
like useless.
Yeah.
It's their paperweights, basically.
Yeah, they're all paperweights. So this so then, and it's also funny because I believe Alec, and I think you can add to this if you can help me on this. They did shoot a scene where Loki was king of Asgard, and they just cut it out.
It's in the trailer, I think, right?
I don't know if it's in the trailer. I think it might be in the trailer. It might be in the trailer, or I know I saw an actual an actual photo of Loki like doing the the saviors here in the full on royal garb. I thought it was cut it out of the episode. But so obviously they say no, and she's just like, okay, guys, go right ahead. It's really good. I love that intro to that scene. So now also Rennslayer is giving a file. She's giving files by Miss Minutes while this is happening, because she requested them, but she didn't get these files. These files are the ones she requested, and she said, he wants you to have these, and she doesn't know who she's referring to. She's referring to, and then she just disappears, and we never know what these are at all. So it's more set up for what's the future of the series. So Sylvie and Loki are approaching this elevator, and the door opens up, and we see the person that walks out, and this is when my fucking jaw dropped. I was literally working. I was working and I was watching the show, and then I literally saw this person walk out, and I was like, "Holy fucking shit!" Because I was right. Because this was my theory last time. I said if we did not see this person come, then this person has to show up. And I know Rebecca, you have a position to that because I remember we've talked about this before about who you wanted the person behind the curtain to be. But the person.
Before we move on, can we just read the comments real quick?
What? Oh, okay. Diego. Oh my God. What are you talking about? Literally nothing.
I'm not into clocks like that, man. I'm sorry.
But yeah, so we finally get to see who He Who Remains is, and it's our boy Jonathan Majors from Lovecraft Country, and as well as the last black man in San Francisco. And it was announced early on that this motherfucker was playing Kang. And so he is the He Who Remains, and it is and my image thought, wait a minute, oh shit, this is Kang, let's go. But he's technically not Kang. He in comic book wise, this version of Kang is actually known as Immortus. That's who this person is, and he's basically the oldest. He's the oldest version of Kang to exist. Yeah, and he is revealed to be the one in charge of everything. And we're gonna go into detail on what's happening and who he is.
But just a quick thing, I have to grab a charger.
Go ahead, Joe.
I'll be 5 seconds.
Oh, yeah, it's no problem. But yeah, so dude, he looks so great. I'm trying. Oh God. But after that, Morbius encounters Rennslayer and reveals that he knows everything. The TVA is a lie. They're all variants and all that stuff. So just the jig is up, basically. After that, I don't know if I should save this for theories or not, but it involves B-15 and what she discovers with Rensslayer's secret that was teased in one of the early episodes that they'd show up and but
whatever isn't the actual theory, just say that part.
What's that again?
Whatever isn't part of a theory, just say that.
Yeah, well, she ends up at a school, and we early on, and I think it's episode 2, Mobius picked up a pen that said that Renslayer had that said like Franklin D. Roosevelt High School, whatever. So she goes to that school, and then finds out something involving Renslayer. I'll say what it is for theories, but okay, so. He Who Remains, right? The man known as He Who Remains, basically reveals to Loki and to Sylvie that he basically knows everything that's going to happen. That he knows about the entire show, the entire journey that they've gone on. He knows all about that. He knows everything that the TVA doesn't know, and he basically has paved the road for them. From beginning to end of the series, this was all his plan for them to meet him, basically. And also, Sylvie has a hard time believing this, but he basically makes a good point because, when they meet, Sylvie tries to kill him multiple times, and he just weaves. He just ends up using his tempad to weave the entire time. And he's just like, okay, if I'm lying, though, how would I know when you're going to strike me when it happens? How would I be lying about this that I know everything if I'm literally weaving everything that every attack you're making, and also have this stack of paper again because the TVA, remember in the beginning, they always have to sign a record of if this is what is if this is everything you ever said. He has a stack of paper that has everything that they have ever said and will say, which is mind blowing. That he knows how. Yeah,
it's a script for life, basically.
Yeah. So that's very interesting. So then, Rennslayer, again with Mobius, and we get this idea where Mobius was said again. Alec referred to. She wants to burn everything to the ground, but Rennslayer believes that like the person who did this has to have a reason for doing it, and that like the TVA can't just be for nothing, right? Like she's basically in a state of denial. Like she doesn't want to believe that like everything that they've worked for is a lie. But then she grabs like some files. She takes like a briefcase and then just leaves, and we never see her again.
Yeah. After
that, so she goes through a time door, and then she's done. All right, so, and then it goes back to Loki and Sylvie and the He Who Remains. And I love how he pours them tea. Like he's being a smug asshole and just pouring them tea and having them sit down. It's great, but. Basically, he says that like, listen, like the TVA is a necessary evil, because if the TVA doesn't exist, shit's going to get out of hand if the TVA doesn't exist. And Loki asks the big question: what is it you're afraid of? And then again, he stands up, leans on the desk, and is like, well, me. And now we get the exposition of who He Who Remains is and how the TVA has formed. And Rebecca, you're going to probably give your thoughts on this, about this whole scene, because we were talking about before. But, so basically, and I love how, again, Jonathan Majors killed his performance, because I love how he refers to him, like, I've been called many things, because, he's been around for basically eons, and he's been known as a ruler, a conqueror, a jerk. So now we get the origin of who He Who Remains is. So He Who Remains, and I have so many fucking notes because I wrote all of it because I love this so much. So He Who Remains, his first variant of himself was a scientist from the 31st century, Kang, basically. And basically the scientists discovered that his universe was of many universes stacked on top of each other, and we see again that diagram. And basically the multiverse. He discovered the multiverse, and the other versions of himself, other variants of himself, were discovering this at the exact same time, which is interesting. So obviously, they're all going to end up meeting each other. So they end up meeting each other, talking, exchanging resources and information, and I love how he's just like, nice hair, nice boots, nice nose, we're great,
etc.
Yeah. So, basically they met each other, they exchanged technology, and it's revealed, over here on the third image, the TVA technology, the time doors, the batons, that's all Kang tech. That's all tech from this variant, from these variants, right? All the tempad, all that stuff. And so there was, peace, very narcissistic, egotistical peace. And it is then revealed that not all of the variants of him were all pure of heart. Some of them believed that these worlds, these various universes, were just places to conquer and control and invade. And again, get that Kangage. So then, basically, that realization with these evil versions of Kang, these dangerous ones, caused the peace between realities to erupt and explode. And basically, this is what the multiversal war actually was. It's just every variant of Kang just fighting each other, either preserving their own universe and annihilating the rest. And I thought that was very interesting. And I love how we remember the whole Miss Minutes video of what the war actually was, and that was great. So after that, again, this first variant discovered Alioth, and basically found Alioth existed in between realities and was capable of consuming actual space and time itself. So He Who Remains, which is what we have now, basically experimented on Alioth, weaponized him, and used him to end the multiversal war in its entirety. and and then he basically took the opportunity to then isolate the timeline to have manage the flow of time, so it's one singular timeline, and prevent any other branches from forming. And that's where you have that's where we created the TVA, the timekeepers, the elaborate bureaucracy. You're welcome, basically. And yeah, and I have this quote here, and it's my favorite line. It's my favorite line of the episode. Is that if you think I'm evil, then wait until you see my variants. And I'm just like, ooh, I'm just like, it's so much seasoning, and I love it, So yeah, so then basically, He Remains gives them what he refers to as the gambit. So now he has two options, right? Two choices. Either you can kill me, and you don't have to just deal with one devil, quote unquote. You're going to deal with an infinite amount of devils, or y'all could just run the TVA yourselves. And I'm just like, that's such a smart idea. So yeah, that's the whole gambit that he has, them choose. And so what are your thoughts on this origin of, the multiverse and how the He Remains a role in it? I don't know your thoughts on this.
I'm sorry, can you repeat? I blinked over a second.
Oh, okay. I said what are your thoughts on the whole exposition of how the multiverse started and all that, the whole origin with He Who Remains, basically.
Okay.
And all that stuff.
So his name's Jonathan
Majors.
What is Majors?
Oh, Majors, yeah.
Okay, Jonathan Majors. He looked like he had a blast doing this. He's really entertaining to watch talk in these scenes, and I'm interested to see if/when he plays other versions of this character, how he plays them differently, if he does so at all. I do think it's a little exposition heavy for the last episode, but I get why it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think the origin's fine, and I like the idea that you might stop the bad guy now, but a worse guy could be coming. Which it kind of in a way, now that I'm thinking about it, mirrors other parts of the MCU where it's oh, you might stop Loki, how the Avengers had to stop Loki and Ultron, but that's because Thanos was coming,
Yeah,
and
of course.
it was the worst guy. So it's kind of similar in the scaling to that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I just lost my train of thought after that, so we're gonna move on to Alec, I guess.
Yeah, Alec, do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, I just want to say this. If he's the big bad, I'm excited for Jonathan Majors. He was very theatrical. I wonder if he has a theater background, because I
believe he does.
Okay, well that explains it. First of all, just to jump ahead, it's Rebecca, it's just like you said, I am very excited to see his range in having to play a conqueror, a villain.
Mm-hmm.
I'm super excited. I thought this exposition it's game changing is what it is basically. I enjoyed the story. It's something I noticed of his clay. It's the figures, or the stuff he made.
Yeah.
It felt a lot like the ending credits of Age of Ultron. It's with those.
Yeah, I can see that
a little bit.
Yeah.
So this confirms the multiverse, and this brings into the question. It's of a theme that has been mentioned all throughout the 6 episodes, is the existence of free will. Because with it's Loki and Mobius had those conversations of does free will exist? Because it's a TVA, timekeepers. It's all just a proxy done by this guy. It's this all-powerful being, super old. He does it as a necessary evil, saying, yes, I took lives of the innocents and had them, it's placed them here, but it's to keep the devils at bay. It's basically what it is. And then again, this comes into the question of free will, because all throughout time, well, you know, it's until that point it's in the future of like he made the TVA and like he time traveled, like, you know, he found the power to time travel and like hop through. It's the multiverse basically. It's to see through it. There is no free will, because he has this record of everything that has happened and will happen up to a certain point. It's which they soon get to, but it shows of how it's a very hefty price. Have no free will, but keep existence in peace or steady peace, or have there be free will, but it's at the expense of not well, I want to say it's catastrophe across not just the universe, but all across existence, I guess is what you could call it.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy choice. And it's a lot to take in. As I saw this go down, I was like, well, how are they going to, you know, how are they going to move forward with this? You know what I mean? And it was very interesting, and it's a lot to take in. I mean,
yeah,
it's
a lot.
Yeah. It's it's not an easy choice to take over and have no free will exist. And then we get to the next scene.
Yeah, it reminds me not so much, I guess a little bit in the choice itself, but more in like the tone, kind of like the end of Watchmen.
Yeah.
Which, I guess spoilers for that, where it's like, do they tell the truth about like this horrible thing that happened, or they like not, to like keep everyone safe? It's kind of a similar thing like that.
Yeah. Very much so, actually.
And fun fact, in the like assembled, it's behind the scenes stuff. It's of this season. Jonathan, it's with the Major, said that he has it's part of his outfit. He has something. It's from all over time.
Yeah, from different time periods. Yeah, he said like the shoes are like from the Mongolian era. The cloak is like Renaissance.
Yeah,
like it's. I saw that right away when I saw the character. I was like, yeah, like it's so interesting. Yeah, I'll say just before we move on, just real quick. I'm as a fan of Jonathan Majors, I see again what Rebecca said. Like he was like, having so much fun doing this. Like he like.
Oh yeah.
And again, I mentioned Assembled. He said his inspirations were The Wizard of Oz, Citizen Kane, and Willy Wonka. And I could tell all of his influences with this performance is like the seriousness, the man behind the curtain aspect, the zaniness, all that stuff. I thought it was so much fun.
Yeah.
And again, just like the change, because this is a change from Kang's origin, like the whole, because like the way, because like we didn't really know who was going to be the overarching big bad of like the MCU for Phase 4 and 5 going forward. Because like the Thanos essentially, I was so shocked like essentially like with the explanation that they're straight up setting up Kang to be like the next Thanos, if not more powerful than Thanos, because like.
More powerful.
Yeah, because his origin involves the multiverse. That was never a thing with Kang, like ever. Because he was just a time traveler, who just had various versions of himself throughout time. But like, no, this is like to have him be like a multiversal threat is crazy.
I was sorry to interrupt. I was just complaining before this podcast about how I don't want to be invested in the MCU, but I'm invested in to see what they do with Kang.
Yeah. But then again, like I thought the origin was great. I thought like that again, Rebecca, you said like the exposition again was a lot for an episode. I really enjoyed it because it was filling us in like what the truth actually is within the universe as a whole and like what existence actually is.
Like I said, I enjoyed this stuff in the moment. I just think overall as a finale, it's a lot of exposition.
Fair enough. But it's the performance sold me. I was like, dude, oh my god. Yeah, but so just to move on. Yeah, so the gambit, kill me. Shit goes haywire, or just run TV yourselves. And I like how the reason for that is that like because he asked like why would you're lying, like why would you want to do that? Because like simply because like he's tired, like he's bored, like he's been doing this for eons, and he's a lot older than he looks. So like he just like he just wants to. He said he describes it as the game is for the young and the hungry, not for the old. So I thought that was really interesting. And here, okay, this is where my notes kind of stop because like I just remember what happens after that. But like, yeah, so then Loki and Sylvie have this big disagreement about their decision. Loki wants to do the right thing and not risk the what if of if he's right, because if he's right, hell's gonna break loose. But Sylvie just like immediately thinks he's a liar. He's lying to them, and immediately just wants to kill him. And they just have a very big dispute and very big fight. And at the same time, it's more self-actualization. And Kang actually brings it up because like for one, Sylvie's very naive, and he tells Sylvie, he's like, oh, like because you've ruined innocent timelines, and it was real for me. He's like, tell Siri, like, Sophie, grow the fuck up. And also you're a hypocrite and a murderer. So shut up. We're all villains here. Well, also, yeah. What's up, Alan?
Well, no, it's a couple of unique things. I'm sorry to interrupt about that, but it was two things. It's something that He Who Remains said. It said, it's all about the journey. It's you can't change. It's without having to go through the journey itself.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And and also that was super meta. Meta. You know what I mean? Except also too, a great line, it's with Loki saying to Sylvie about their stance, is of how, speaking to Sylvie, she can't trust and
he can't be trusted.
Yeah. I thought that was very and again, seeing this Loki, but this started it was 6 episodes, but it was a big change in character for Loki. It was all about the journey, because this Loki was pulled straight out of Avengers.
Yeah.
It's after he lost. He didn't go through the character development of Dark World and Ragnarok, and it's to having to appreciate all the things he saw. It's back in episode 1. It's back in the time theater. This Loki went on a journey that was greater than himself. Yeah. And I don't want to say if he's, he's changed, but is he a hero? He's looking out for now the greater picture, I feel. So it was very interesting to see how this Loki evolved from having to be a villain to this this self-discovery and self-inflection of what makes what grand purpose but do I have? And now, since free will doesn't exist, it was never mine to take. This Loki did not. He wanted to take over the TVA, and now he's tasked with this burden of, instead of having to rule, it's now of having to rule. It's to keep the peace.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing too, and you kind of just said it, is that this Loki cares more about more people than just himself, and that's the big thing.
Yeah, for sure. I was gonna say something, I lost my thought, but yeah, and then Sylvie was saying oh, you just want to roll nah, because the gambit, just think about the gambit here, we take out the person in charge, but who knows what monstrous things are gonna happen if this person isn't in play anymore. So we can't risk that. And freaking He Who Remains even said you can even tell everyone the truth, who they work for and who's behind all this, right? If you guys decide to rule and whatnot to take over. But yeah, neither say or not, and I love how Sylvie was about to kill him, it literally was about to kill him, and I love how Loki, again, to show that he's how much growth he's had. He literally split second, it was honestly stressful. Goes in front of her swing, and it's just listen, I don't want this. Like, I just want. He generally tells her, like, all I want is just for you to be okay. It's not about me. Like, it's about. I'm just caring about your well-being. And they share, like, you know, they share a kiss finally. Yay! Ah, they like each other. Ah.
I was gonna say, what do you guys think about the two of them together?
Is it weird? Yes, but like, it's weird. But like, but I don't mind it. Like, cause they've shown the growth of their relationship pretty well, you know. But like, I also feel like it's kind of fun. I feel it's kind of like Loki. The only person Loki would actually fall in love with is himself. And
listen, man, it's all about self-love.
Exactly, it's all about self-love, like metaphorically and literally. So, yeah, like, here's the thing, though, right? Because I remember I've talks about this before with other people. Because people are like, oh, it's incest, but like, they never said that variants have like the same genetic code as each other. Like, you know, like
I don't think that takes away the weirdness, but you gotta also remember back in the dark ages when people shipped like Thor and Loki together.
Yes, exactly.
But here's the thing: I like their relationship. I wish it was platonic because I think it's weird that they're like romantically into each other, and there's a lot of like weird stuff behind the scenes where some of the people like crew interpret it way different than some of the other crew.
Okay.
Because they were there. That's why.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Well, and also I have a quick question too, just to be sure. So I guess this episode confirms that with a variant is a version of someone from another universe. Is that correct?
Basically, yeah. Like yeah. Especially because if you go back to the thingy, where's the thingy? Which one? Yeah, right here. It says universes stacked on top of each other. So like yeah. So like they're other universe. Like, I don't know. It's weird. Like it's so convoluted when you think about it in a way, you know.
So if I'm on the right path here, this Loki from the Sacred Timeline, who got but picked off. It's from the Sacred Timeline. With Sylvie, who was a version of Loki. She's from a different universe, correct?
Has to be. It doesn't make any sense if she wasn't, you know.
So by that definition, it's like it's like it's that narcissistic, thing. I mean, it's if you look at it from a perspective, they are like doppelgangers from a different universe.
Yeah.
Listen, I get what they're going for. I just think it's weird.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah. I for someone who is painstakingly still watching The Flash, I explain it as you have a doppelganger in another universe, but but their version of it is like you're on a different frequency from your doppelganger, so you're technically not the same. But like you're the same, but you're not, you know?
We're going down a rabbit hole. We need to get back on.
Yeah. Doesn't matter. But anyway, so they share a kiss, and at the same time, and I love how because it's another rotating shot. She takes the temp pad that that he remains, leaves on the desk for them to take, and kicks Loki back into the TVA. And she says like, yeah, but like I understand, but I'm not you. And yeah, so more or less, Sylvie makes the dumbest decision in MCU history since Star-Lord, in my opinion, and kills He Who Remains. And by the way, I don't know if we touched on this, but like I think Alex referenced it, but like He Remains says that like once he explains everything to them, he reaches the threshold where he doesn't know what's going to happen after.
Yeah, so that made me, because like he is explaining, the camera zooming in. Also, I love that one take of like he hears that it's the thunder, it's the rumbling of thunder, and he goes, no, like we're past the threshold, and I don't know what happens after this. And as he says that, you see it's the ring outside.
It's starting to branch.
It starts to branch. Except also too, not to jump ahead, when Sylvie is having to argue, it's with Loki just before they start fighting. He who remains chimes in and goes, "Hey, hurry up! It's starting to branch off.
It's starting to branch."
and that's why, not to jump ahead, that's why when she kicks Loki into the TVA, it's a different TVA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Well, we'll talk about that. Like,
yeah.
But yeah. So she kills him, and I love how at the end when like while he's about to die, because again he references before we're backtracking, but I gotta say this real quick. He says that like, okay, you can kill me and have the multiverse start over again, but that means that I'm just another version of myself is going
come
to
back and
reincarnation, baby, basically.
Yeah.
And I love at the end when she kills him, the multiverse starts to branch like crazy, and then he says, and it's really freaking meta, "See you soon." And I'm just like, oh shit! Like I'm just like, dude, like, and then Sylvie looks stupid sitting on the ground because she made a terrible freaking mistake. Yeah, sorry, I'll cut you off. My fault.
No, and like and also he says, "See you soon," and he winks like that, and he dies. He slips over and dies.
Jonathan fucking Majors, man, god damn it, it's so good.
And like also too, it's I have another question. Part of me wonders like what other higher power is there, because like it's what force determines the threshold. You know what I mean? Like it's what is that thunder rumbling? I don't know. It's just my mind.
Listen, that is a good question, and as a comic book fan, I have many answers, but I'm not sure if it's going to apply to the MCU at all. Like,
so it's not the big G. I don't know if they're ever going to go there.
No, the big G is known as the one above all in the Marvel universe, and he's literally God. He's God.
Yeah.
But
give it to like Phase 10.
Yeah. Feige's gonna do something.
But yeah, but we can talk about that in theories and stuff. So like after that, Loki freaks us out, panic, rolls to more Mobius and B-15, and I love how like B-15 are talking about like, well, like they say this in particular, like while they look at the screen, or like the screen of the library of the multiverse going nuts, of the time going nuts, and he's like, does he want us to branch?
Yeah.
And I didn't catch this. I did not catch this when I watched it the first time, right? Mm-hmm. So then what's it called? Loki's freaking out. He's explaining to B-15 and Mobius, guys, like it's all like, okay, we met the person on the other side, like it's like we screwed up with a terrible mistake. We shouldn't have done this. Like he explains about like what's going to happen now that Sylvie has killed him, and then the twist is they have no idea who Loki is, and this is when I was like, I know I said this a lot, but this is when I was like, holy shit. And then he freaks out like, oh, are you an analyst? Like, what division are you in? Then Mobius brings security, and we get that amazing shot of the zoom out of a pan shot of Tom walking up, realizing something, and then it's revealed that no, Kang is already here, and then my jaw straight up dropped. I was like, oh my god, like what? Mm-hmm. Like, dude. Okay, here's the thing, right? My thing was right. I got confused a little bit, so like I don't know if y'all can clear it up with me. Do you think that this is the same TVA, but this variant of Kang just reset everybody, or is this another, or is this a variant, or is this a different TVA entirely? This is another TVA from like another wherever the hell the TVA is.
My guess is that it's a completely different multiverse, just because I don't think they would get rid of like our Mobius. I think
That's
fans
true.
are too attached.
That's true. I don't know. Honestly, it could be either or, to be honest with you. Yeah, so that's how episode 6 ends. I don't want to say final thoughts because we all know it was the best episode of the show. I'm just gonna say it, best episode of the show. It's great. I'm just kidding. Nah, you guys all have different thoughts. Want to hear your final thoughts on this episode?
Like I said, I think overall it's enjoyable. It's a little slow and not very actiony for a finale, which is fine. It's just not my like preference for a finale. I think finale should be big, but I think it did have a lot of good moments in there.
Yeah.
Like I said, overall it was good.
Al, do you have any thoughts on this episode?
Well, as a television show, not every third act has to be action-packed.
True.
And, it's kind of like, it's Rebecca, it's what you said. It wasn't action-heavy, but I never felt like that's what the show, it's at least the first season of Loki was. It wasn't really an action adventure. It's not like Falcon and Winter Soldier, you know what I mean?
No.
It's different, and that's what makes these 3 shows so far unique. But Loki had a lot to do with story and, I
hate Diego so much, man.
Well, now we can't go on YouTube. So.
Yeah. Thanks, Diego. Appreciate that. Continue, Alec. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but well, I enjoyed this episode because as a finale, it was grand in that this will change. It will affect the movies going forward and the other future. Like, this changes the franchise. Is what I'm assuming that this will do.
For sure.
And back to my theory about this. So my first initial, it's like emotional. Its reaction was, Kang already is reset there. He had everyone. It's reset, and that's why they didn't remember. But then it's on your second viewing, you get the thing with Mobius saying, it's talking about he. When just in the scene before that, you had it's Mobius with Hunter, it's the B-15, seeing it's having to watch the monitor branch off and saying for all time always. And that lets you know that this isn't the same TVA. I think that this is a different TVA, especially considering that the fact that so now the thought about the TVA having it to exist outside of space and time is all bull, especially considering that no one knew what was happening except He Who Remains. So I guess every type of I presume that every type of it's the universe has their own version of the TVA, probably.
That's what that was crazy. Like when I watched that ending, I was like, that is like you know how crazy that is? Because like everyone because we all we said we all thought like, oh, the TV is probably in a void somewhere where time's unaffected, but multiple versions of the TV. How the fuck is Loki getting back? Especially now that the TVA is branched. No, sorry, the timeline is just branched erratically. How is he gonna get back to his TVA with Mobius and B-15 and everyone?
It's one of those things where if you think about it too hard, it's just gonna hurt your brain.
Yeah,
too much.
That's how I was with Tenet. So
yeah, I know. I'm not gonna compare. I think Tenet's kind of worse, but but no, it's in the same ballpark. But yeah, no. For me, this episode was great. It was a lot of I feel like this had a better payoff to me personally than WandaVision did, because WandaVision didn't have a really great payoff. This definitely did, in my opinion. Granted, there was a lot of exposition, but because the script and the performance of Jonathan Majors and and Loki, as well as and Tom Hiddleston and Sophia DiMartino, I thought that it was exposition that felt, again, when Alex said, grandiose. It mattered. It was necessary, because we have to know how things go down. We have to know the truth at the end of the season, So, dude, it was, and thing is when we move on to things this shit changes everything. It literally, it's nuts. But yeah, so we're gonna go move on now to the part that Alec doesn't like, of course, which is now the theory section. Yeah, so there's 2 things that I wanted to clear up with. And the first thing I wanted to talk about, right, is the thing with Rennslayer, right? The thing I wanted to say that I mentioned for this, right, is basically where the hell did where did Rennslayer go? And two, there's a variant of Rennslayer that I think she's aware of. That was the whole secret, I think, with Rennslayer. So yeah, like where did she go? Where's she heading up to? Actually, no. Where did He Who Remains end up sending her? Because he gives her information that we don't know of, basically. Yeah.
If I could quickly chime in, I think the scene with it's with Hunter 15 having to show it's the time police it's about the variant. That's her explaining to the whole TVA about of how they're abducted. I think that's what that scene was.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I guess it probably did. That was probably, maybe that could have been just it. I don't know. Maybe there's something bigger than that. I have no idea. I was a little confused on it, to be honest with you, with that scene. Rennslayer went. I have no idea. I honestly, I don't know.
Well, she said of how she left to go find free will, and she walked into the portal to season 2.
That's a good way to put it.
Good way to put it.
I have no idea where this is going.
Yeah, no idea. But yeah, that's basically all I have for that. I have no clue. Like I honestly have no clue. But I'll say this though. There's a plaque right that happens that we find, and it basically says who this person. I think it's a real. She's like the principal, like this version.
Yeah.
There's the principal of the school. I thought I had the name down, but yeah, her name is on the thing it says Rebecca Tournament. That's her name, Rebecca. Rebecca Tournament. I think that's what the name is. But that's actually an alias of Rennslayer in the comics. So that's actually it's a version of Rennslayer that hides with another version of Kang in another time period. So that's actually a thing. So I just want to address that with Rennslayer. But yeah, also now we can finally talk about more, if you want to talk about more about our theories as well, with Kang now. Where the okay, so like here's the thing, right? My thing is, I have this image here of like various versions of Kang. Now we know that Kang is coming, right? And now that he's basically a multiversal threat, and we know that he's showing up in also in Ant-Man Quantumania, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania as well as the main villain for that. Which I'm curious to see how that's gonna work. It's freaking Ant-Man. Like I don't know how that's gonna go down. But the thing is, because he's a multiversal villain, I guess now he can literally show up in any movie. Just half-ass. Any version of Kang like that exists can show up in any Marvel movie, in my opinion. And like it works because that's how Kang is. He can show up in any film and just with no explanation, basically. So what are your thoughts on that? You think we can see Kang in more and things other than Ant-Man 3, basically?
I think he'll be popping up all over the place, at least in the next phase or two of stuff. I don't know what they're planning on doing for the next Doctor Strange or Spider-Man, but I wouldn't be surprised if they throw more at least references to him in that.
Okay. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually saw Jonathan Majors as another version of Kang, just walking around or just showing up briefly, or just in the back, like a Where's Waldo thing, Like I could see that happening because there are versions of Kang that are just chilling in, there are versions of Kang that are chilling as just like a normal civilian in timelines. Like it's just so shit. And also, elephant in the room. we're gonna get Iron Lad because like you cannot do Kang without having Iron Lad because Young Avengers. So yeah, I feel like he can show up in anything and not have it really affect too much. He can show
sorry, I was just gonna say, as long as it's not like oversaturated, I think it'll be fine.
Like, yeah, that's true. He could show up in freaking Spider-Man. He could show up in freaking Black Panther. What kind of like he can show up in anything, and like it wouldn't really matter because that's what the character does. He's like, I describe him as like Professor Zoom in The Flash. Like, you can kill this man as many times as you want, but there will be another version of his popping up. So yeah, so that's basically that with my thing. Al, do you have any thoughts on this?
No, that's interesting. Speaking of that, it's Rebecca. It's kind of like what you said. They have to have a line of not having it. It's oversaturated because you need to find a balance between the audiences that are there for that movie and that movie alone, and the greater scope. It's of the franchise, and I genuinely don't know how long this, because it seems that the next few movies with Spider-Man, as far as we know, because that's kept in the dark, but with Doctor Strange, called the Multiverse of Madness, it seems that at least the next two movies are going to involve the outcome of what Sylvie did. It's with the multiverse. So like that makes me wonder, how long are they going to keep this arc going? You know what I mean? Because it was like, how is how is every film going forward? How do they keep it how much is too much, I think, because with Endgame, it was because it's with Thanos, it was a 5-year time jump. It's within the same movie, and that got wrapped up, I feel.
Yeah. But also with Thanos, it was like he was there, but he wasn't the villain until like the last two movies.
Yeah, exactly. It seems with this, it's got the long-term consequences. You know what I mean? It's so it's going to be interesting. And Mikey, about what you said, it would be cool to have like an Easter egg or two of Kang showing up, but Kang the Conqueror, the grand villain, I feel like that should be saved for when the phase.
Yeah.
Well, it's when the next saga comes to an end, because it's the Infinity Saga was the first 3 phases. Perhaps soon this could be called the it's the multiverse saga. You know what I mean? It's Marvel. It's trademarked. I'm just saying.
They're probably going to do it. They're probably going to call it.
Well, don't say I told you so. But no, it should be interesting to see how long they carry this out for.
Yeah, for sure. A thing I just thought in my head just real quick is that one thing I had in my head that also involves Rennslayer is that I think the variant that we saw, Rebecca Tournament, in the comic, she's married to a version of Kang who's just a civilian that lives in like the 30s, I believe. So I think that this version of Rennslayer that we're going to see maybe next season is married to a version of Kang in that timeline. We'll see. That'd be really cool. That in my opinion. But yeah, so Kang is coming. I'm super excited. I think I'm curious to see what they're gonna do with Iron Lad if the Iron Lad does show up. But like I don't know. But Kang can show up anywhere, literally anywhere, and I think that's crazy, in my opinion. So yeah, lastly, theories wise, we're gonna just talk about how Loki literally changes everything. He so now, because I remember like Kevin Feige, right? I remember like when Investor Day happened, he said that you could watch every single Marvel show, like Disney Plus show, separately, and they would be like their own separate things. It would not really like they're not going to connect to the movies at all. That was a complete fucking lie. I respect it because once that whole thing dropped with the Kang reveal dropped at the end, he made an announcement that said, "Oh no, I was just talking about WandaVision," and then it blew my mind. I was like, "Yo," because Loki literally sets up What If, it sets up Multiverse of Madness, it sets up Spider-Man. WandaVision was literally useless. It didn't, because people literally thought that was going to be the one that changed everything because, House of M and how that changed the Marvel Comics,
They were never going to do a House of M with that, though.
Exactly. They weren't. But, like, I would have, but, like, I just find it funny, like, yo, like, WandaVision really didn't do anything.
I saw a theory with the end credits because, well, the Wanda is going to be a part of Doctor Strange, and now that she's officially the Scarlet Witch, she's more powerful. Yeah. I saw a theory saying that it's in the post, it's the credits, her having to hear her twins are them speaking from the void or something like that.
I heard this. I heard the same one. I think it's not like I don't know. Maybe because yeah.
Well, I was gonna say Wanda's power is literally that she can manipulate reality. So chances are they're gonna need her to like make the multiverse like less unstable.
That's true. Yeah, I heard the same type of theory. Like because like her hearing Billy and Tommy at the end spawned from Sylvie's mistake, which is I'm assuming is true now because if you look at the order for like the MCU like chronological Disney Plus, Loki comes before WandaVision, so that makes sense. Like for that to be true. Yeah. I don't know. That could mean a lot. Do you think that? Here's the thing. Do you think that Loki's gonna show up in Multiverse of Madness? Do you think? I mean, he's a magic user. It kind of makes sense.
I don't see him popping up just because I think with like a season 2 coming, they're going to try and keep it like separate a little longer.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. I just thought I think it'd be cool to have him show up like briefly. But who knows? Honestly, I have no clue. But yeah, man. So we'll just wrap it up with our final thoughts, basically. So final thoughts on verdict. What are you gonna give verdict? What are you gonna give this first season of Loki out of 10? I'm gonna just be straight up. This show's a fucking 9. It's a 9 for me. I like this. I'm conflicted because I love Falcon the Winter Soldier. That was my favorite show that they dropped before this. I think I like the show a little bit more because like it was different. This was honestly the most fun I've had watching a Marvel show or like a Marvel property in a long time, in my opinion. And just like the way it affects the MCU as a whole is just crazy. So, and just the performances and the fact that this is basically this story of Loki just trying to like love himself and accept himself is great with a wacky storyline. So I really like this a lot. Like I loved it, to be honest with you. So.
Of the 3 shows like WandaVision, Winter Soldier, and Falcon, and this, I think this one is definitely the most like fun. Like it's having the most fun with itself because the other 2 were like, I don't want to say serious, but more serious in tone.
Well, Falcon Winter Soldier was serious.
Yeah.
It was grounded.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. I'd give it like, I want to say a 7 out of 10. I think it was really good. I think it was fun for a lot of it. My personal taste is just, I wish it stayed like a little more with that fun tone. But I did like the serious stuff in the actual like character development they did with like everything. Yeah, I really enjoyed it for the most part, at least.
Nah, just be real. You just wanted Miss Minutes to be the real villain of the.
Listen, you got me. She was a baddie and she was robbed, but What can you do? There's always season 2.
Fair enough. Alec, what's your verdict of Loki?
Of the 3 shows, this was my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I love science fiction. I love fantasy. I love science fiction, and I did enjoy Wanda and Falcon Winter Soldier. I did, but this was by far my favorite. I enjoyed the tone. I like the characters. It's the themes with it. It can get very thought provoking, and I liked the journey it went on. It was a fun 6 episodes, and I'm very excited to see what they can do with season 2, because season 2 can go anywhere. And I feel like, how can you top this time traveling adventure? And I am excited to see the characters again in season 2. And for the rating, 8.5 to 9. I really liked it a lot. It was very fun.
Word. Yeah, so I guess we'll just wrap it up. Thanks for who are watching this and will watch this. We appreciate it. I don't know when Loki season 2 ever come out, but if it does, maybe we'll do it if this channel survives till then. So just be on the lookout for more, because there's a ton of shit coming out. Like, I'm literally stressed out because there's too much shit coming out in the next couple of months. So look out for more reviews in the future. Literally, they're doing one for the Suicide Squad on Wednesday. So look out for that, because I'm really excited to talk about that movie. Thanks Rebecca and Alec for joining me, man. I appreciate it as always. It's always been fun. We'll just catch y'all on the next one. All right, peace.